Alchemist is a unique piece of fiction. It utilizes not only literary trends and conventions associated with characters, storytelling, and plots, but also it's wildly original and speaks to the kind of imagination author Paulo Coelho would become known for in all of his writing. It's evocative not just of the archetypal hero's quest, but of religious pilgrimages, like the one Coelho himself took. The author of The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho, was born in Rio de Janeiro on August 24, 1947. His parents committed him to a psychiatric facility when he was just 17 years old, and he spent a lot of his youth in and out of institutions and in prison. Later, he went to law school, but dropped out, experimenting with drugs and playing music. At one point, he was jailed for political activism and was even tortured in prison. Understanding these background pieces of Paulo Coelho's life will help you understand the critical journey and spiritual awakening of the alchemist. At the onset of The Alchemist, we meet Santiago. He's a shepherd, and he's chosen this job because it allows him to travel. This speaks to his curiosity in expanding his horizons by seeing more of the world. Santiago dreams of buried treasure at the pyramids. He learns a lot through observation, and he realizes that he's formed a bond with his sheep that works beyond language. But his sheep are also followers, content with living moment to moment with no real hopes or dreams. He makes an important decision to pursue his visions and seek out his incredible treasure. He meets Melchizedek, king of Salem, who uses magic powers to convince Santiago to follow his dream and live out his personal legend. He also introduces Santiago to the notion of oneness, the idea that all things are related. Santiago sells his sheep and sets off for Egypt. Now, a clever thief robs Santiago on his first day in Tangier. Heartbroken, Santiago considers going home and giving up. Instead, he realizes that even though he can't understand the language, he can communicate with people there. He decides to continue being an adventurer. Santiago gets a job working for a crystal merchant. After helping the merchant's business succeed, the merchant realizes his own life has been stalled out and unsuccessful because he hasn't been pursuing his personal legend, instead remaining content with things as they are. Santiago's transformation and his ability to transform others has begun. Santiago crosses the desert by caravan, where he meets an Englishman who's an avid reader and seeker of a 200-year-old alchemist who lives nearby Al Fayoum, an oasis. Once the caravan arrives at Al Fayoum, Santiago meets Fatima, a young woman of the desert, and falls in love instantly. Santiago also envisions an attack on the oasis after observing two hawks as an omen. Because of Santiago's ability to read omens by observing the world around him, the oasis is saved. This also draws the attention of the alchemist himself, who takes Santiago under his wing, teaching him the principal philosophies of alchemy, which is about more than turning metals into gold. The alchemist guides Santiago, but they're captured, and as the ultimate test, the alchemist promises their captors that Santiago can transform himself into the wind within 3 days. If he doesn't, he offers their very lives. At the dramatic climax of The Alchemist, Santiago speaks with the wind and the sun, who each realize that they are all creations of the same hand, the soul of all things. Indeed, Santiago turns into the wind, liberating he and the alchemist and proving the power of his literal transformations. At last, Santiago reaches the pyramids and he breaks down weeping at their beauty. However, his quest is not yet at an end. Refugees beat up Santiago. But just as they're leaving, one reveals to him his dream of treasure buried at a church's sycamore tree in Andalusia, where Santiago's journey began. He has gone full circle, and by remaining attuned to the uniting spirit of the universe which guides all things, he has achieved his personal legend. Santiago discovers his treasure home in Andalusia, crying out with joy over the treasures of life experiences his journey has brought him. The Alchemist is rich with symbols. First of all, there's alchemy itself. It's introduced as a way to turn base metals into gold, but really, it's about the evolution of things and harmony with nature. It's not just a magic act. but a way of living and being in the world. Then there's universal language, something beyond spoken language that unites all living things. Understanding this in his sheep is what begins Santiago's character transformation from curious boy to alchemy-wielding communicator and hero. Those sheep themselves are symbols too. They're Santiago's flock, and they're what allow him to travel and learn in the first place. But they're also content with simply being given food and water, but Santiago yearns for more. Sheep are representative of people who live out their lives without ever achieving or even starting on the journey to their personal legends. There are a number of central themes in The Alchemist. First, free will versus fate, making choices that unlock the riches, literal and metaphorical, in life. These two work together to build character in Santiago. Then there's oneness, the universal language that guides us all. Then there's personal legend, destiny, growth, and working in tandem with all things from people to creatures to omens to the elements themselves to evolve towards powerful goals. The Alchemist is a metaphysical, mystical epic. It's an allegory for life's journey, full of growth, development, destiny, and treasure.